Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Montega, welcome to the IuteCredit Europe earnings call following the publication of the Q3 figures of 2022. A warm welcome as well to the board of IuteCredit, the CEO Tamus Silt and the CFO Christel Kurwitz, who will give you a presentation on the respective numbers in a moment, and the floor will be open for upcoming questions following the presentation. I'll now hand over the floor to you, Tamu.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. First, I would like to introduce our Chief Technology Officer, Mart Nael, who will also tell us something about the new core. But let's start with our general results as usual. So you have probably read it all. I should start with a statement that your money is still safe and your money is making money. We have reached a historical benchmark of having a total 1 million customers in our database. 1 million people have turned to us to seek our services. Out of this 1 million, we have by now 35 terabytes of data, which is massive. It is personal data, it is repayment data, repayment histories, sales channels, how we approach those people or how those people approached us, their feedback, etc., etc. It's massive, and it's actually one of the largest challenges if we look beyond the dry, pure financial data. How we can put the data into more lucrative business, how we can continue the growth. We will come back to this in a while when we get to the introduction of new core, how it works, what its main capabilities are. But right now, that's the first number, 1 million customers, out of who today we serve on an ongoing basis, more than 170,000 loan customers, more than 170,000 people make us regular, predictable, and as agreed, monthly repayments, and more than 80,000 wallet customers, the people who keep their money with us, who sometimes take their money out as cash, sometimes they do payments with us. That number is 80,000. And we have to be thankful to those customers because they pay our bills and they also pay your interest. So the net loan portfolio of the IuteCredit business alone, as some of you may remember, we agreed that during this year, we keep our presentation separate. We keep the IuteCredit, the historical IuteCredit business on the one side and the bank's business on the other side. In the traditional IuteCredit business, we have reached net loan portfolio of 138 million euros. And the income of IuteCredit business alone was close to 53 million euros during 9 months. With a very nice EBITDA and with very nice customer performance index, the repayment discipline of our customers has now exceeded our own set internal target. With an outlook towards 2023, I would say even that it is slightly too good. So maybe we have been slightly too conservative, but then again, the outlook for 2023 justifies being more conservative, and we might also see a small decline in the customer repayment index in the future. That's a guesswork. Everybody can make a guess what the effective impact of higher energy prices will be, or higher inflation in general, or maybe the disrupted supply chain, or maybe even slightly disrupted societies if the power is cut off, which we see occasionally happening in Moldova. So all these things affect people's certainty about the future, and we also have to remain alert. And that's why I say CPI 90.5 is a very good number. It's a very strong number. In normal times, I would say it's too good, and we have rejected too many customers. In these times, I think it is prudent. So that about the general picture in IuteCredit side of the business, and Enerbank side of the business is also profitable. The revenues are increasing. The net profit is increasing. While we are just about to start inside the Enerbank, we will also cover that topic in the next slides. So operational footprint, still having 5 countries. Moldova and Albania are on a par each other. I think there is some kind of country contest going on, because if you compare the loans issued during 9 months, they are basically equal. And if you compare the net loan portfolios, then they are also basically equal, 51.7 million and 51.6 million. So there really is very close contest going on. Right now, those countries are equally important to us. If we look at the EBITDA numbers, they are again 5.9 to 5.6 million. They are equal. So and regulatory changes in those countries are also happening with equal speed. In both countries, we have now effectively the APR caps in force, meaning that, of course, the regulators have imposed different methods how to calculate the gaps. And that has also made sometimes development of technology very, very challenging, because we have to apply different methods into the calculation formulas. But nevertheless, the regulations are in place, and despite of this, we have continued our growth in the two biggest countries. Macedonia is also growing nicely. As you see in Macedonia, the amount of loans we issued during 9 months is close to 30 million euros. Net loan portfolio 26 million euros. Total income more than 10 million euros. EBITDA positive nicely, and the country is growing. And then we have two more countries. I still call them startups. Actually, Bosnia no longer doesn't qualify as a startup, because it's already going 4th year when we do business there. And the news about Bosnia is that we have decided to freeze the growth, to freeze the expansion, because we have not yet found a good way to make a scalable, digitalized, modern business. Obviously, the way can be found only in cooperation with the local regulator. And unless and until we have not found a way, we have decided not to continue scaling the business. We are focusing more on cash inflows. If we compare Bosnia with Bulgaria, you see that that country has been growing nicely. The amount of loans issued exceeds Bosnia. The net loan portfolio is about to catch Bosnia and bypass it very soon. And also, if you compare the EBITDAs of two countries, you see that Bulgaria's EBITDA has been producing slightly smaller minus than in Bosnia. So it has all characteristics of nicely growing startup country inside IuteCredit Group. And as you see on the slide, we are also continuously looking for new markets where to expand. I would not be overly optimistic that we would make another acquisition over the next 6 months. Things are still slower than we expect, and we have to be very, very selective, especially in the times ahead when, according to certain Mr. Buffett, it will be seen who swims without the trunks. So we continue. We continue in 5 countries, 4 countries growing nicely. In 1 country, the growth frozen. And I think now we can move over to the new core, the main point. And as a starting statement, as I have told you previously, we continue investing heavily into technology. So heavily that every time we have also answered your questions about our profit margins, shouldn't they be higher, or where does the money disappear? So as a small fact of life, we spend on technology more than 6 million euros a year. And actually now is the right time to ask Mr. Nael, where is the 6 million disappearing? Please, floor is yours.
Hello. Well, it's not really disappearing. It's actually creating quite a lot of value, what we see already in the markets where we have rolled out the new core. So I'll give you a bit of a sneak peek into the kitchen then what we have been building and delivering throughout, let's say, last almost 2 years. So the new core system that we're rolling out, that basically brings together maybe 3 main aspects. One is the customer management together with CRM functions. One is the loan engine itself, managing then the loan origination as well as the loan lifecycle management, and then the core banking component together with customer and dealer accounts. And we're also introducing beginning of next year things like payment network integration and possibly cards as well. That would make it then a full-blown banking system, also usable in Enerbank in the future. So basically, 2022 main effort has been exactly building that system as well as rolling it out. So we are good and stable in North Macedonia, Bulgaria, and Albania, and we're working now heavily to roll it out also in Moldova. That would basically then complete our core markets in terms of changing our technology platform. So being a modular system, then I will go quickly over the key features of this system. So one of the core and maybe central components is something what we call a customer module that basically brings together the customer data across different channels and building it into a single customer profile. That basically then includes the customer personal information, also their credit history that we get with integrating different credit and income registries. Also, of course, their income information and onboarding status, AML scores, all that. Based on that, we basically score and segment customers that will then later be used both by making loan decisions as well as making targeted offers in terms of after sale, for instance. Customer itself can be fully digitally onboarded. We use their things like facial recognition, image recognition, also different queries for different databases, ensuring that these customers are, let's say, legit and are not money launderers, for instance. And when customer is being onboarded, then we also give them opportunity to digitally authorize their transactions. It can be a loan agreement signature. It can be also, let's say, a payment authorization. That is a fully secure system based on the public key infrastructure, and usually they use those certificates by biometrics on their phone. That is the main use case. So a second component is our product catalog that basically enables quickly set up different products, also with different discount campaigns, maybe dependent on the originating channel or assigning method. But basically, different country business units can set up products within minutes based on then the country, let's say, regulatory limits, but also our own product attributes. And now this customer, let's say, scoring or credit score, as well as our product configuration, is then used by maybe one of the most important parts, which is our automated decision engine. So that basically then takes into account the customer score, the product configuration, and can make loan decisions within or even below seconds. For instance, in the shops, together with our mobile application channel, where they could fully digitally authorize their transactions, customer can get goods within minutes without signing any paper on paper. So that is a big competitive advantage in our markets compared to our competitors. So yes, we see basically time to goods within minutes together with the automated decisioning. The fourth component is basically our task orchestration engine. One of the core principles is that our business process flows are fully tasked, meaning that each step has also a task. Some of those tasks, and increasingly in the future, are completed automatically, and some of them are completed manually. For instance, a loan decision can be an automated operation, whereas maybe when customer has a problem during the onboarding, then a KYC specialist might complete this onboarding process by manually then interacting with the customer. Then as a fifth thing, our, let's say, loan conditions can be dynamically changed during the loan life cycle. That is especially important when we see this regulatory environment changing constantly. So we need to introduce new limits on the different, let's say, primary fees or secondary fees. We also can do things like automated refinancing of loans. We can switch the repayment dates. We can give grace periods or suspensions on the installments. If also customer is defaulted, we can rearrange the, let's say, expectations or the installment table into debt settlement plans, so we actually get the money. So things like that all can be done on the fly, and of course respective accounting entries, and then all that is done also to the financial management systems. Now the next thing is the core banking component. What we also have introduced is the concept that all customers, as well as all our partners and dealers, have their own, if you will, bank account. We use it to make payouts. We also use it to gather repayments. And the money can move instantly between customers as well as between customers and dealers. So basically, we are cutting out the regular banking network, and we are cutting out the card systems. Meaning money moves instantly, and it's also cheaper, so to speak, for the customer as well as for the shops. So in there, we are also planning to introduce payment network integration, I think firstly in Albania, and then it kind of becomes the full-blown core banking system. Two last points, all data from production systems are then loaded into the data warehouse. On top of it, we use business intelligence tools. We use it for regulatory reporting. We use it for our own internal reporting to make different business decisions. And we are also now building the predictive models. For instance, predicting the future when we would change the product configuration or some, let's say, regulatory caps are upcoming. So what would be the, let's say, profitable configurations going forward? So that is maybe the biggest thing in that part, especially the predictive models going forward. And last but not least, the actual engine room, it's fully built on the cloud services capabilities, meaning that basically every component of that modular system can be automatically deployed. It can be also automatically scaled. So basically, when we see that the load is going up, we can automatically add resources. Then again, if it's going down, we take the resources away. So we also optimize the cost true to that capability. Also, all kinds of disaster recovery related things are automated. So when certain, let's say, components or nodes are going down, we can automatically bring them up again. And that has basically given us close to 100% availability on this new system that we have been delivering. So that, in a nutshell, is the 6 million euros.
Thank you. I actually was sweating while you were talking because I was afraid you say something too much.
No.
It's not only for the investors, you know, there are all kinds of different nice people, and some of them are very curious. So we have to sometimes limit ourselves as well. But thank you, and we continue developments. It's an ongoing work.
Yes.
So we should see similar scale of expenditure or cash outlay also in future. Some of it will be accounted as an asset, as a long-term asset in Iute books, and some of it will be accounted as OPEX, money immediately blown away from window, in expectation that something positive happens out of it. And I think since we have had so far a very good 9 months, it was the right time to show also what's behind of all of this. And certainly technology has been one key element behind of the results that we have achieved. So Enerbank, just a kind reminder, next year we will put the group's results all together. Even right now, we are having a kind of dilemma, because while we talk the Iute language and about Iute results, we at the group management level, we already look at as a whole. So when, for instance, when I speak the revenue numbers, I tell that the group's 9 months revenue was 64 million euros, the total amount that the customers repaid to us. But on the other hand, inside the group, that 64 million is split into two. So 12 million is the revenue by Enerbank, and 52 million is the revenue by the rest of the Iute business. So Enerbank on its own profitable, We will have also a short summary of the Enerbank turnaround. Actually, I think it will be a good moment to switch to this and show you where we are with it right now. So that's slide number 18, Enerbank integration. So what we are doing right now and how we see things in a very, very big picture. So we are somewhere in the middle, hopefully past the middle point with corporate governance. The Enerbank new management has been appointed, approved by the regulator, and is working. We need to complete certain steps as regards the supervisory board. Hopefully we will have also supervisory board steps completed over the next. I would like to be very impatient and say that it's going to be within next 1 or 2 months. Maybe it will take slightly longer, but clearly we are at least on the halfway with corporate governance, which is important precondition to complete the bank's turnaround. We are revising customer onboarding procedures because we have to prepare the bank to serve hundreds of thousands of customers, and it all starts from customer onboarding. How to do it as efficiently and quickly as possible, how to prepare the bank to handle different type of customer traffic, and also to prepare the bank to handle the customer traffic mostly by digital means. I do not think that we will expand the branch network or recruit more people just to handle more incoming foot traffic. We are also revising the OPEX and the organization of the bank. The bank's supervisory board has already approved the new general organization outlay. And we are right now collecting and analyzing the data as to how to optimize the OPEX. Some of the steps hopefully are already visible in the 9 months results, but we are not done with it. And also we have started with accounting, auditing, reporting integration, and with preparations to launch new core, preparations regarding new core. For instance, we have looked into how the bank is handling current remittance business and how we could make the bank more efficient there. And with reporting, clearly there is a big effort going on how to consolidate the data, even for you, dear investors, but also how to complete successfully our first joint audit, and then onwards. So again, we are in the beginning, a lot of work to do. We haven't yet started with MyIute app. We haven't yet started to push over customers to the bank. And we haven't yet started with the rebranding, which eventually will also take place. Regarding rebranding, even for you as a small hint, you might ask yourself a question: will IuteCredit remain as IuteCredit main brand within next 3 years or not? And different answers are possible to this question. We are slightly developing a different feeling, whether we are IuteCredit or we are Iute Group, which offers different financial services. Now I will jump back, and I think we skipped the operating highlights. I already mentioned the total revenue. You also see that the revenue quarter on quarter has been increasing. I will still make a careful prediction that we will not see such a sharp increase of revenues over the next 4 quarters. We are aiming for increase of revenues for sure, but maybe not that sharply, because the group's total balance sheet of 320 million euros will most likely also remain in the 300 million euro territory. We are not expecting any other explosion of it to 500 million euros during 2023. Now, if we are operating with the current balance sheet, it means that we have to increase our own efficiency. So the main focus right now is on efficiency. Can we really make the new core work even better than we think it could or it does today? Can we drive our people better? And do we have optimum number of people on board? Here, for instance, I compare ourselves with another Estonian banking group, LHV Bank. They are, of course, operating in different market and have different size. But for some reason, if I see that our total number of group employees exceeds by now 1,000, it seems a bit too heavy for such a small business like ours. So revenues has been increasing, but I would not expect that sharp increase over the next 4 quarters. And also you see the loan volume issued during 9 months, 160 million euros inside IuteCredit business alone. And the loan portfolio has also been increasing. The APR sits at 47% currently. That's the APR at the moment of signing the loan. Since we sign a long-term loans, average maturity at the moment of signing 21 months, then during these 21 months also where people may want different things, including refinance against larger loan amount, and sometimes we can also achieve with this slightly higher effective APR. That's also what you get when you compare the group's income statement and the primary revenues from the loans. Sometimes the primary revenues effectively exceed what one might expect from the APR value. And that is the reason that we do refinances and we offer any other services on top of the loan to increase the profitability. But loan volume issued 160 million. And again, we do not expect significant increase over the next quarters. We have to be careful. And total assets inside IuteCredit business, it's close to 200 million euros. The bank has to eat another 120, so we reached the total 320 million. Oh, and we are very grateful that customers continue downloading the app and continue using the app. On the one hand, it should offer them great speed and great comfort. On the other hand, to us, it should offer great savings in the OPEX. So, loan repayment behavior, I already covered. It's slightly above 90%. It is slightly too good, but nothing is too good, thinking ahead. So we are also prepared that the CPI would drop by a few percentage points. That's possible, but we do not know it and we do not see it yet coming. We are just making guess, like any of us could make a guess what the winter will be bringing to us. As to repayment dynamics, the overall picture still remains strong. The Iute benchmark vintage, peak vintage, the peak amount of money which we collect as compared to the initial paid out loan amount stands at around 139 percentage points. If we look at the past results, it's clearly above 140. But if you look at the current ongoing vintages and longer maturities, but also lower APRs, we think we are at somewhere at 139 percentage points. And if we look at the defaulted performance index, then as you see, the collected principal amount, which was defaulted previously, the collected principal amount within first 6 months is slightly below 40%. So that again gives us some reason to pay special attention. We need to be careful with playing with the CPI and with the DPI. CPI, how well the performing customers repay us. And then again, if the loan eventually goes into default, and as you know, we are more conservative in our default standards, we consider a loan being default. We as Iute, not we as bank. We as Iute consider loan to be defaulted within already 50 days from the due payday. Then we also have to be very careful as to how efficiently we collect those loans. And 40% DPI remains our benchmark. Well, I have spoken too much. Kristen, it's your turn now.
Yes, thanks, Tarmo and Mart. And good morning from my side as well. So, and now briefly, let's cover financial highlights as well. As you see, adjusted EBITDA, 18.4 million euros. Yearly basis increased by 16.5%. And as Tarmo already explained, mainly because of the higher level of revenues, even with more conservative revenue recognition from 1st of January 2023, which means that we don't make any accruals from the day of default, or in our case, it is from day T plus 51. But as also Tarmo pointed out, we had higher level of payout. at the level of 160 million euros. And because of the better customer performance, our PPP or performing principal portfolio was also higher level, which is a basis for higher revenues. Our operating expenses, yes, as already we explained, most of it is because of the IT development and IT maintenance. Yes, compare last year results, operational expenses increased by 40%. But we truly believe that efficiency will improve a lot, as from next year all our big subsidiaries will use new core, which should give us a very good basis to get better efficiency. Our net portfolio was 138 million euros. As you can see, on a yearly basis, it increased by 40%, and on quarterly basis, it increased by 13.5%. Our adjusted net profit was 5.6 million euros, even with much higher of capex or interest cost because of the Enerbank acquisitions and with higher level of amortization. I believe we can move to the next slide and see our ratios. Once again, most of the ratios are only valid, so to say, for our Iute business. As you see, and as already mentioned, total income in the level of close to 53 million euros, compared last year quite a good increase. We generated primary revenues of 44 million euros. We collected secondary revenues in a cash basis, 5.7 million euros, and approximately 2% of the revenues are wallet revenues, and wallet revenues are increasing day by day. Cost to income ratio was 40.7%, and as already explained, that is absolute maximum level we want to keep, but we truly hope that with efficiency increase, we are able to reach somewhere around maybe 35%. Our net profit margin went up to 11%, which is also directly related to better performance, to increase the level of revenues. And we hope that that is not a maximum level we are able to keep. Our capitalization ratio, which is now calculated on a consolidated basis, was 30.9, and our interest coverage ratio, once again calculated on consolidated basis, 1.7. So all financial covenants are met. So briefly about our loan book. As you see, close to 9% of the net loan portfolio are the defaulted customer. Our gross NPL was 15.4%, and impairment coverage ratio 70.5%. We calculated provisions during the 9 months in amount of 14 million euros, and with our conservative provision methodology, still impairments are representing 8.5% from total assets. And now let's cover also briefly assets and liabilities. As already said, our assets at the end of September close to 200 million euros. Still 75% of assets included net loan portfolio and cash. On quarterly basis, assets increased by 10%. At the end of September, We had interest-bearing liabilities 151 million euros, increase on a quarterly basis by 9%, but at the same time, net loan portfolio increased by 13.5%. Next August, we mature 50 million bonds, and I can confirm that we already started refinance process. So that is all from my side, and once again, efficiency, efficiency, efficiency.
Thank you, Crystal. I always felt like I should speak faster to complete it because it's more efficient. So our strategy remains the same. We continue rolling out the technology. If we finish with new core in Moldova, then we continue adding features to it. And we have one big target still ahead to deploy the technology, which is the bank, the first bank, I should emphasize here. We also continue adding features for the customers and services for the customers. We are going to add more revenue streams. So one might even ask why to add more revenue streams and why do you look into more countries if you could be successful in your current countries, or are you not sufficiently successful in your current countries? Why do you look elsewhere? Well, the answer is that if we have made it scalable, then why not? If we have a few countries in our neighborhood left which to cover, then why not, if the regulatory environment permits? And also, if our platform is such that we can add more financial services to it, to earn more revenues, then why not give it a try? If we look into the wallet revenue streams, just as a model, as we have explained before, we use wallet as part of the Iute ecosystem to keep customers with us, the customers' regular incomes with us, and how they spend their money with us. Then you see that the wallet revenues have been increasing quarter on quarter. And one might ask, is it profitable business? As of now, wallet on its own is not profitable. It's not heavily loss-making. I am not going to disclose right now what is the comparison between the revenue and the OPEX related to KYC and technology and servicing the payments and internal audit, etc., etc. Clearly, at these volumes, at these monetary volumes of about €500,000 per quarter, it's not yet profitable. We think we can make it profitable in the long run, but the current loss rate is also not such that not to try and continue doing this business. I would even say that if we would cut the efforts to expand the business, we could break even immediately or be in profit immediately. That's the calculation we have made today based on the known numbers of how much we have invested money into our own ATM network. We call it Iron Maiden. They're machines which are made of steel and are kind to customers. And also, if you compare the money we have put into issuing the MasterCards in one country and the MasterCard revenue that we generate out of it. So we continue doing it. My message to you is that we keep close watch on different revenue types and how much money and effort we put into generating each of those revenues. And we believe that this is the future for IuteCredit Group. Now, I think I should cover one more topic which has been in news here and there, which is our Kosovo case. The case is closed for us. The major lesson for us is that one should very carefully choose the country where to enter. Political risk and regulatory risk can sometimes outweigh the risk which you normally would associate with any country where you go out and give your money to people who are complete strangers to you. It's not the credit risk, it can be the country or political risk, and in this case it has realized. I think lesson to us also is that we should sometimes dream and hope less and be even more conservative in our expectations as to the regulatory and political stability. This particular case we lost, and by loss I mean that we went into the international arbitration to prove that our investment was not sufficiently protected by Kosovo authorities, and the license in Kosovo was revoked against Kosovo's own laws. We won the case on many points, and that is also proven in the split of the legal costs, because usually the party who loses the process has to pay the costs. In our case, the arbitration ended up in such a way that we had to pay our own costs, which exceeded slightly more than 2 million euros. Most of them already accounted, so really the balance sheet and income statement has reflected it all. And Kosovo, government of Kosovo had to bear its own costs. They were claiming, I think, 2 million euros. Maybe, by the way, lawyers will hang me because maybe I am not even supposed to comment on it, but I will do it nevertheless. It's on my responsibility. My name is Tarmo Silda. I'm CEO of IuteCredit Group. So Kosovo had to bear its own costs. We have to compensate some of them, like 180,000 or something. Yes. So both parties had to bear their own millions, and that's how the case ended. For us, Kosovo, for the near future, is a country where we don't intend to go back. And we have to bear in mind that there are countries in Europe where your own business plan becomes a regulatory norm, that us, by writing the business plan, actually make the laws. And if we don't follow our own business plan, then it's something which has become a law and you cannot even change it. That's a bit unusual to us. We have been more, adaptive to environment where you can also change your own plans, just like our customers can change their plans. For instance, when they take a 2-year loan and they discover after 1 year that they would maybe repay it early, or maybe repay slightly less per month because there is some change in their monthly income. So we should be dynamical, but in some countries we know that business plan is not something which you can change, and that's also the lesson. So this case is close to us, and the last very important point I will bring out today in presentation is our effort which goes into the environmental, social, and corporate governance. And it actually has become more and more important to us. It's not only words, we put real money behind it. We put real money because we see, and this is greetings to our team members across the different countries. I know some of us are watching this presentation as well. We see how people get inspired when they can do something above and beyond their daily work. So clearly we want to take care of our own people, but we also want to take care of the society in general. And what is the particular focus? We sponsor different healthy lifestyle events. We sponsor different hospitals, and we sponsor public sporting events. We sponsor different public quality education projects, especially financial education, how to borrow money wisely, how to invest money wisely. And we also believe that what we do as a group contributes to overall industry innovation, meaning that digitalization clearly is a big innovation. Digitalization sometimes even needs to break the regulatory barriers. It clearly has to break the personal habits that our customers have in our countries. And it clearly reduces their carbon footprint. So this is what we believe in, that's why we have chosen as our focus the good health and well-being, quality education, and innovation in the industry. And I think so far we have performed pretty good. We could do, of course, even better. So let's see how we proceed in the next quarters. That's it from us today, and I think we have now spoken 45 minutes, and it's time for your questions. We are all ears.
Thank you very much, first of all, Tarmo and Christel, for this interesting presentation. We already received some questions in the chat already. We will get back to that in a minute. First, if you have questions, you can submit them also by audio line. Please raise your virtual hand. You find the button on the lower part of your screen and you can directly ask your question, or alternatively via chat, and we will read it out for you. If you have dialed in via phone, please press the star key followed by number 9 and then the star key followed by number 6 to unmute yourself. We have one person who dialed in via phone. You can now ask your questions. I would ask you to state your name and your institution first before asking your questions.
Yes, hello, this is Roland speaking. You can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you fine.
Okay, wonderful. You already mentioned the repayment of the bond in August next year and said you want to finalize it till May. That makes me a little concerned because just recently a company with 400 million of bonds outstanding couldn't repay 70 million bonds, and they announced it a day after the repayment due because the financing fell through. So I'm a little concerned in general. Let's say if world situation gets really bad, which we hope not, and you cannot refinance it maybe in the spring next year, then May is too late to generate enough cash for the 50 million, because I think you said 60 million cash you generate in 9 months. So can you say a little bit more on your plans and that you hopefully are really on the safe side with your refinancing?
You want to take it? I take it. Okay, let's start from the end. Thank you for this question. Let's start from the end. I told that we generate revenue, 60 million over 9 months, but the cash inflow is significantly larger. Our monthly cash inflow is close to 20 million euros. So, of course, we need to serve from it the operating expenses, but the bottom line remains that in the worst case, let's really describe the run into the wall scenario. Nobody wants the bond, or everybody wants the bond at very high yield for the investor and very low or very high cost of capital for us. That's the run to the wall scenario. In that case, we have to pull the emergency brake and stop issuing new IuteCredit loans and just focus on collection. If we focus on collection throughout May, June, and July, we are able to put on table 50 million euros by August 7, 2023. Of course, I would prefer if it doesn't go this way, but we have discussed internally and you really opened up the Pandora's box. So let's go to the hit the wall scenario. That's the hit the wall scenario. We have also received some positive feedback from existing investors. We also see positive feedback on the stock exchange on the turnover of the bonds and pricing of the bonds. So I would not be as pessimistic as to hit the wall scenario, but that's my answer to your question.
Okay, thank you. And would you like to comment on Kosovo? You said something on the legal costs. Could you, but the collection of your customers, did you receive it, or did the whatever Kosovo state keep it themselves?
We have received from the company under liquidation, from the liquidator, about 5 million euros. 5 million euros. We unfortunately, throughout the history, since liquidation, have not seen a single balance sheet or income statement of that company. That's also a very rare record. That's the only country in Europe, actually, I think, where you can conduct business under state administration and not to receive from the state or central bank appointed governing liquidator, not a single balance sheet or income statement, but we can live with it. So there is some oral information that there is more money on the bank accounts of IuteCredit Kosovo. In our group balance sheet, the remaining financial investment in Kosovo is worth 2.4 million euros. If needed, we will write it off completely, but it's not today that significant amount to pay extra attention to it. There is past history that we receive payments from the company under liquidation. We have oral information that the liquidation is still ongoing, and maybe we will receive more money from Kosovo. So total size 2.4, most of the loss has been already accounted. Historical cash out from Kosovo to group 5 million euros.
Thank you. That were my questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your questions. In the chat, it was asked why the guidance for the financial year 2022 remains unchanged given the strong 9-month progress.
That's a very good question. It's about expectation management. And inside the group, generally, we try to do it this way, that once we have outlaid our own target for a longer period, let's say a year, we don't change the target. So what we have said in our latest report is that we expect to exceed the guidance numbers, and that we really expect. But we are not going to change our guidance numbers. We try to stick to it. Sometimes you see that we have underestimated ourselves. Some other time you might see that we overestimate ourselves. In both cases, we are not going to change the guidance so that you get a clear orientation which way the things have been going. I think it's just very nice for you, for investors.
All right, thank you. And what is the underlying regulatory reason that caused Bosnian expansion halt?
The key words are digitalization and also the customer experience related to processing a lot of papers, a lot of foot traffic required from customers, which is not required in any other country. And also the overall approach towards microfinance, which doesn't seem to be overly friendly and cooperative. So we are walking a fine line here. Clearly, we want to comply with the prescriptions we have been issued by the regulator, and we are working on it. But the underlying reason is that as such, today, it is not digitalizable and scalable.
What has been the OPEX impact of halting the Bosnian expansion? Are there any cost saving from that currently?
There is cost saving. It is not significant from the group view. From the group view, most significant cost saving sources for the future are: number one, technology, deployment of technology; number two, to avoid excessive legal costs for international arbitrations; and number three, also to avoid maybe some acquisition projects which we are not avoiding currently, but which inevitably bring costs on an ongoing basis. If you want to look around at the markets or on the targets, you have to spend money on it.
Thank you. Switching topics, is refinancing of the 2023 bond with the Energy Bank cash position also possible?
We do not use Energy Bank in any way to deal with bond refinancing. I mean, a bond will be refinanced by IuteCredit Group, by the IuteCredit business line.
And what is the proposition of deposits in Energy Bank liability side on the loans and bonds from investors line?
Perhaps I do not understand the question. If the question is about how much is their deposits in Energy Bank, then the deposit amount at Energy Bank is nearing 100 million euros from the total balance sheet of about 130 million euros.
If the question is not fully answered, kindly let us know. Do you feel comfortable with the ICR buffer you currently have? Are there any reasonable steps to improve that?
As I said, adjusted EBITDA is affected because of the acquisition of Energy Bank and because of the higher level of interest costs. But and at the same time, you saw that operational cost has increased compared 9 months 21. But as Mart and all of us explained, we really see that efficiency will improve, which means automatically adjusted EBITDA will improve, and which also means that the interest coverage ratio will improve. But at the moment, yes, we don't see any worries regarding that.
Thank you, Christel. Could you give us some more color on your cost of risk expectations for the next years?
Impairments, I think the question is mostly about
Yes,
impairments.
Maybe yes, maybe we can get some clarification. Is it related to provisions or
something else? Do we
something
create,
else?
for instance, if the question is, do we create special provisions to address country risks, then currently it's not in our maps. Do we create some additional provisions regarding our own team or our team strength or team integrity, that's not in the plans. We really would appreciate if we get more specific focus on the cost of risk in our future plans.
All right, thank you. We have further questions from Frank Lehmann in the line. Frank, please go ahead.
I hope I can be heard. Hello to Tallinn, and thank you for the presentation and congratulations for a surprisingly better results than we had expected. Tarmo, two things, and I keep coming back to that. From our point of view, the future of the IuteCredit Group is very much in the conversion or the transfer of 60,000 performing customers from IuteCredit into the bank. That actually is a major thing, and I saw that you addressed it on page 18. However, it's only in the first of the 10 squares. What's the expectation here? Is that going to happen 2023, or might it even drag into 2024, or what are we looking at here? That's my first question. The second question is that's more like a general one. I keep reviewing, and my team looks at this consumer lending companies, and we still haven't really picked up on the cost of living crisis that has been forecasted by the macroeconomists to hit the consumers. It's not visible, or is there something in your accounts which I might have not picked up or which we might have not seen? Thank you.
Frank Oliver, can you please specify your second question, our books and the cost of living of customers? I think I missed the important part of your question.
Cost of living crisis. It's the cost of living crisis that has been forecasted by the economists for Europe.
Okay.
Based on the inflation, and that should actually have a super negative impact in the question of the consumers, whether they repay debt or whether they kind of buy food or heat the house. You know, that's how the economists always say. They say, look, the consumer who has X cash will have to decide, and he might rather prefer to be a defaulter on his debt than not to heat the house. You know, just make it very explicit.
Okay, I leave it to Crystal to explain the provisioning policy. What do we take into account? I think mostly it's based on the actual data, but also some anticipations. But I take first the 60,000 question.
Yep.
60,000 customers to Enerbank, preconditions. Obviously, we need to finish the corporate governance process. Obviously, we need to make the bank ready to serve additional number of customers in an efficient way. So we have to complete the steps which you see on the integration map above the 60,000 customers. We have to complete them or get into certain readiness before. Also, we need to be able to deploy a new core inside the bank before, and that is scheduled to happen during 2023 and first quarter of 2024. I don't think that we will wait with customer pooling to Enerbank until first quarter of 2024. We start already in 2023. It's very hard to give you a very exact milestone. So maybe for your notes to squeeze us also within a year from now, I would ask within a year from now, how many customers have you effectively pulled from the rest of IuteCredit into Enerbank? there must be a number. Maybe it's 10,000, maybe it's 20, 30,000, maybe it's zero. Zero would be failure actually. And second, when will you have the full 60,000? My best estimate is that we should complete this number by end of 2024. Of course, with ambition, we could do it faster. But as I said, we need to first align or prepare the Enerbank's organization and business processes for it. And that means we need to complete the steps which are above the 60,000 customer integration target. Now as to, yes, Mart, you wanted to add?
There is not only the, let's say, regular consumers, but we have very large dealer and partner network, and their accounts moving over to Enerbank has also been in our plans.
Exactly. So it's a whole ecosystem which needs to be moved, because customers are used to a very smooth experience. And as a bank, we cannot offer them anything less, only better. From customer view, it very often is not even relevant. Is it bank or somebody else? It's Iute. Question is whether the life gets better or worse. So just by pulling them over to the bank, the life should get better, not worse. And I suspect that generally talking, that's very general about banking system, no particular country like Moldova. Generally, the reason why microfinance and payment institutions and fintech companies have been flourishing, at least some of them, is just because something is undone in the banking system. But the second question.
Yes, regarding provisions, let's say 99%, of course, it is based on customer behavior. I mean, historical data, how our customers has been performed. Based on that, we are calculating PDDs, LGDs, etc., etc. But at the same time, yes, we are also using unemployment rate, so to say, to get additional input and to be more conservative. And so they are the main so to say, basis for calculation of provisions.
Crystal, if you allow me, have you adjusted the affordability criteria?
Sorry,
have you adjusted the affordability criteria by inputting different cost of living? I guess that's happening on a dynamic scale, right? The assumptions of cost of living assumptions for someone to take out a loan and what's left to pay down the loan.
To be honest, no. Yet we haven't added. As I said, we are using unemployment rate because I believe talking about Balkans, it is the most so to say. Especially if we are talking about consumer loan book, it is the most valuable ratio to be added to the calculation. But as I said, I believe most it is a moment of truth. How our customer has historically been made repayments to us, and that is the most so to say valuable information. Mm-hmm. And as you see, quarter by quarter, customer performance index have increased. So that is also maybe the moment of truth.
Crystal, actually, I want to add one thing. So, Frank Oliver, the question about accounting or balance sheet is really answered like Crystal said. So there is a formula and certain input data which we take into account, and most relevant for us is the actual repayment discipline. Now, when we talk about anticipation to future and the risk that we start losing money because customers do not repay to the future, I think in management you need to address it less on a balance sheet level or income statement level, and you need to address it more on the credit risk management level, meaning what are the approval criteria of new loans. And there we have made adjustments. We have made adjustments as regards the customers' monthly expected income and the monthly available money for loan repayments. And we see that our approval is getting more and more conservative. And as you see, also the loan paid out has not been increasing, that aggressively during the third quarter. So if I understand your question correctly, then yes, when we talk about impairments, not much has changed and can be changed because everything is just so good. But if we think of the anticipation of what could happen, you cannot manage it in a way with a backward looking in the balance sheet. You can only manage it by deciding who will you give how much against what monthly repayment. And there we have made adjustments, expecting that customers have country by country, but on average per household, 30 to 40 euros less available cash because of higher energy costs. That's
right.
the
And yes. And if you allow me to come back to the first question, Tavo, I think your point is right. Banks have not entered that market in which you are, because it's really tricky to navigate in a regulated or highly regulated bank environment. Nevertheless, the reason for you moving into the acquisition of a bank, of course, is based on the confidence that with the existing business in Moldova and having a bank standing right next to it, that there should be a possibility to transfer the know-how from left to right. I don't know, they might even be using the same offices, but I understand different systems, etc., etc. Now, my question to that is, has Enac Bank actually a license to do consumer finance?
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your questions. Tavo and Christel, could you please specify the refinancing bonds that are scheduled for next May?
As to the schedule, we will publish the schedule in due time. As to the method, we will also publish in due time. We have been testing waters and let's say this is not binding information. This is not an offer information, but we have been testing waters against different methods. And it might be, when I say it might as well be not be, but still it might be that we will offer the current bondholders the possibility to exchange their bonds versus the new issued bonds. And the newly issued bonds will bear the same terms and conditions, maturity, coupon, etc., as the bond which will expire in October 2026. So theoretically, it might end up as IuteCredit having 125 million euros outstanding bond at a coupon of 11 with maturity October 2026. But that outcome could achieve only if the existing bondholders agree to exchange their existing August 23 bonds versus a new bond. Of course, it remains subject to discussion as to what are the exact terms of exchange. And even in terms of exchange, I talk right now like a business manager. Lawyers probably would say that it's something else. But the outcome might be that if you want a new bond, you have to give away your old bond. And of course, if you don't want to give away your old bond, but you want redemption, then that's sacred. I mean, then there will be redemption.
All right, thank you for the explanations. Right now, we have one more question left in the chat. A kind reminder to all participants, if there are still open points you would like to address, please let us know your questions. Another participant is asking, you mentioned that new core system will cut the bank and card systems. How is this achieved and how will money reach your account from client's account?
I start what I understood from the question. The question is, how could the new core be deployed in handling the payments? And essentially, new core consists of intra-Iute accounts and also accounts that belong to external account providers, external international bank accounts, which bear IBAN number. And what we are aiming is that all our customers would have their account with Iute, and we will be in that case able to make the inter-account payments in an instant within Iute ecosystem. Now, if customers or our partners want to move the money out of Iute ecosystem, then clearly we need to execute a debit credit transaction between Iute IBAN account and the IBAN account of whoever is the external recipient. And that is a very generic answer. Maybe I missed something in the question. Could you please rephrase it?
I think from what I see, it is mostly answered. The core question was how you achieve that your core systems will cut the banks and the card systems. But I think you mostly already attached to that.
Yes, maybe to add that we definitely will integrate with the payment networks such as SEPA or SWIFT. So that is already giving us a possibility to move money in and out from the Iute ecosystem itself. But of course, our main goal, considering that we have very large partner and dealer network with all the shops and the other types of dealers, as well as quite large customer base, then we would rather keep the money flowing virtually within our own ecosystem. But yes, SEPA and SWIFT will be used for moving money in and out.
We did not receive any comment that the question was not answered sufficiently. So I assume for now the question is fully answered. If there are further questions, I assume Tamo and Christel, the participants, may always approach you for further questions afterwards. As we did not receive any further questions in the meantime, we are coming to the end of this earnings call. To all listeners, thank you very much for taking the time and your questions. And again, to you, Tamo and Christel, thank you for your time, the presentation, and answering the questions. I hand over to you for some final remarks before closing.
Well, we also want to say thank you. I want to thank Mart Nael, CTO, man in the backyards with a large team, and traveling to the countries. I think you will be in Moldova very soon for quite some days. And thank you, Christel, and thanks to Allar, my partner and Chief of Commerce, and to Kadi and to Taro and so many other people who work in the team in headquarters and in countries. So thank you all first. Second, we need to thank our customers. They pay even for this earnings call. So thank you, my dears. And thanks to also our investors for your trust and for your curiosity. So let's continue, and we look forward to the earnings call where we cover the full 2022. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.